If you saw my video last week, then you know I got a pretty interesting box from Misfits Market. Full disclaimer, this is not a sponsored ad, but I do have a code if you want to get $10 off your first box. With the 4th of July and different family events, I didn't have time to do a whole bunch of recipe videos. My next box is already here, so here's just a compilation of some of the things I made. Now keep in mind, I didn't pick out all the contents of this first box. I missed the shopping window, so they were picked out for me. But that's okay, it made it fun to figure out recipes to use everything. If you click on the video's description, I'll put links to all of the recipes I used, or type out my methods for what I made up on the fly. The very first thing I made was a crinkle cake. It's a viral TikTok recipe that you make with just phyllo dough, some custard ingredients, and fruit if you'd like. I used one of the nectarines. All you do is you take your thawed out phyllo dough and crinkle it up 2 sheets at a time. Lay out the pastry in a 9x13 pan and pop it in the oven for 10 minutes. Melt a stick of butter and cut up your fruit. These nectarines were really nice and sweet. After the first 10 minutes of baking, remove the pan and pour your melted butter over the phyllo. It then goes back in the oven for another 10 minutes while you work on the custard. Now this part is really simple. It's just 2 beaten eggs, a cup of milk, a cup of sugar, and then I added vanilla, or you could use cinnamon too. After the second 10 minutes are up, take the pastry out of the oven and tuck in your fruit. This is why you slice it up really thin, so you can get it wedged in there. After that, pour on the custard, and it goes back into the oven for 30 to 40 minutes, just long enough for the fruit to get soft and the custard to set. The final step is to drizzle it with simple syrup, or you could even use honey. And that's it! Look at how beautiful this turned out. This is such a simple recipe, and it was really delicious. Perfect for sharing. Another thing I made was a simple frittata. This is by far one of the easiest things I make, and I love taking it to work for breakfast. For this version, I used 1 potato and some of the broccolini. You can really use just about any kinds of vegetables for this. The first step is to preheat your oven to 350 and get out your cutting board. Chop up all of your vegetables into small pieces so that they cook evenly. In addition to the veggies from my market box, I'm adding 1 smoked sausage, which is 200 calories, and a handful of small cherry tomatoes, just for color and a little bit of tartness. As a side note, I was really happy with these potatoes. They weren't blemished at all, and they were yellow on the inside. Now you can absolutely make your frittata vegetarian, but I like to add a little meat, so it's an all-in-one meal. I'll be topping it off with just a 1/4 cup of shredded cheese. Not too much. The next thing you do is get out an oven-safe skillet, or a regular frying pan and a cake pan. Melt a teaspoon of butter, and then put down your potatoes. I like to fry them for about 8 minutes, so they're mostly cooked. It's perfectly fine if they get brown on one side. You go ahead and you add everything else that you chopped up. I also had a little bit of onion, and you saute that for 3 more minutes. While this is cooking, go ahead and beat 4 eggs with a 1/4 cup of milk and season with salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Nothing too fancy. Pour it over the veggies and stir it up, just a little bit. Top it with your cheese and pop it in the oven for 8 minutes. Now if you're making a bigger frittata or you're using a smaller pan, then you might want to cook it for a little bit longer. And this is how it looks when it's done. I put Dr. Now there to remind you that this is a very low-calorie meal. It's only 177 calories, so you can add an English muffin for breakfast, or you can eat it on the go before the gym. I had one really busy day of meetings this week, so I took one of the avocados to work to make avocado toast with soft-boiled eggs. Just look at how perfect this avocado is. It was considered a misfit because it was on the small side, but the pit was tiny too, and it was perfectly ripe. Look at my breakfast. Yum. This did double duty as lunch, by the way. Yesterday was a gym day, so I made myself a nice hearty dinner. I baked one of the potatoes and cooked the rest of the broccolini in the grill pan after grilling up a chicken breast cutlet. In addition to everything I've shown, I also used some of the carrots to make my Amberlynn video about the cottage cheese and mustard dip. All in all, I think I did really well. I still have a bunch of potatoes, most of the fruit, most of the garlic, and the coconut. Remember to check the description box if you want to see the recipes I used. Drop me a line in the comments and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you.